Hey guys, welcome back to my another video. This video is going to be a part 2 of building the chart room application using a node and socket. In a previous video, I have built the HTML layout, HTML and CSS layout, and this is the what we built. I will put the link below on this video of the previous video what we built. But if you guys are directly interested on watching on how we can turn this around on node application, you can start watching this video. Or if you guys want to know how the HTML and CSS layout can build like this kind of chart application, then you can watch the previous video. So further, without wasting any time, so let's get started. So here I have created the folder called socket, and this is my HTML template which I created on previous video. But in this video now let's focus on this one. So now what I'm going to turn this around in the npm project, and now I need to do npm init. So now it's going to ask me a couple of questions such as like package name, version, stuff like this. I'll just press enter everything. So now here is my package.json file. So now the next is I'm going to install a couple of more packages to get started on this project. So first thing is a EJS. I'm using a EJS template for my Express, and the second I'm going to install a Express, and the third is going to be our socket IO. So let me install these three packages now. Okay, all my three packages had been installed. I will just directly go here and I will check it as well. Okay. So now the next package which I'm going to install is a nodemon, and this is a optional. This is what I'm using it for a hot reload, so I don't have to turn off the server and turn on again. So let me install that. I'm going to install the nodemon on my dev dependencies. Okay, the nodemon has been installed. So now it's ready to writing code now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder called index.js here. Okay, so let's write the express here, and we will use this express from node modules, and of course we'll tell here the express. So now let me create another constant here called app, and basically this is going to be the express here. So in app now what we can do is we can use a get functions here. So whenever it's starting the app, then we could able to tell them what to do, and whenever we get it, we'll get a request and response, and in a response we could send the JSON, or we can send anything here. For now let's send a JSON here and just say that test one whatever. So now what we can do is we can do app here, and we can listen it here on server 3000, and whenever it is server will listen it, then we'll just print on console log that server start, something like that. Okay, server start. So to run this application, what we need to do is we need to do a node and index.js. So now our server is start. So if I go directly on 3000, then we will see a JSON here, test1 dot what we print. So our the server is working. So now next is we need to use the EJS template, and we need to also use the socket, right? So to do that, what we need to do, the first thing we need to do a couple of setup here. So whenever we get this app, so now we will create another constant here. This is for the setting up the, I'm going to make this big now because this is for setting up the socket. Okay. So what we do is we'll require the HTTP, and from HTTP we'll create a server. Okay. And server we will pass this app. And just make sure that whenever we listen it, we don't listen this app now, not anymore. We listen this server. We need to make sure that we change this server. Otherwise, this will not even work. So once we know that this is in server, so now we can use this server to our socket. Okay. So how we can use this server to socket is basically when you create a constant called IO, and we will require the socket, which would what we install it, socket.io, and we will pass here the server. So now we will get the IO. And before we get the IO here, now we will use the IO a little bit later. The first thing, let's set it up the view engine as well. So here we could able to set it up the view engine, which we're gonna use a EJS template for this one. So we will set up view engine called EJS. Okay, that's what we're gonna use. And also for this, we are using a CSS, and we need to use as static URL to get a CSS. So for that one, we're gonna tell that express use static, right? if there is a folder called public. If there is a folder called public, then we're going to use a static. We don't have folder called public, so let me create quickly a folder called public. So what it happen is inside this folder now is going to use as a express as a statics. Okay, it's not going to be as a dynamic. So this is just for testing purpose, so we just use this but instead of using the rest here, we will use it as a render. And in the render now what we're going to do is we can tell them what to use. We can tell them index. We don't have any other index here. The first thing is what we need to do is we need to create a it's called views. Okay, that's what we need to create, and inside the views now we can create a index.ejs. So this is going to be our HTML template. So what I'm going to for now is I'm going to copy this HTML and paste it here. Of course, we can use the easiest their own syntax here to get the data from there, but we're not using any data from it. We're just building a socket, so we're just gonna paste it here. And this is going to be our style, so I'll just copy this style and I'll just paste it inside it. So our style will be a copy as well. So I'm going to close everything now. So now the in index.html, sorry, the index.js, what we need to do is we just need to make sure that our in IO, what we now we'll come back to our IO. So IO, whatever in IO, the connect IO on, I believe IO on. In the IO, we can use on. In the on is basically the event here called connection. So whenever it's connection, we'll get a socket here. Okay, and we're gonna print this socket here. If it's connected, then we're gonna print this. So now let me start the server. So every time when we start a server, we need to do a node index.js. So instead of that, we can do a npm start. To do that, what we need to do is we're going to start here. So instead of node, because we need to run every time, we can directly run a nodemon and we can do index.js. So now here we can do npm start. Okay. Yep, socket.id. Now it's printing the socket my ID before it's printing as an object. So now if I refresh, so here it is. My chart room application has been show up because I'm using the easiest template. I will tell to point it out in my index.ejs, which is here. So that's why it's loading it. Nothing is working here at this point, but so far it's loading already. Okay. So the first thing what we need to do is let me add this model. Whenever we click on login, then we will see the model. Okay, that's what we need to build. So now let me go back directly. So for this one, we don't have to use the backend at all. We can directly use on the front end part. So for front end one, we're using EJS here, as I mentioned before. So what do we need to do? Let me see. Okay, the first thing is let me hide this model. Okay, let me hide this model. And we're using a style here. And in a model, what we have is we don't have anything here. So let me do as a visibility hidden. So now it will hide it. Okay, I don't have to see that, it hide already. So now it's hidden and I don't need this all this text as well. So I'm going to remove it as well because this will dynamically be added. So I'll just leave it like this. So now it shows up to here. Oh, it doesn't refresh. I need to refresh it. Here it is. Okay. So whenever you click a login, you will see the model. The first thing what we need to do. So in login, we don't have any ID. So let me create here ID and we'll create here as a login. So now let me go here and create a script here directly. Okay. So in a script, whenever the window will unload, then we're gonna run this function. Okay. So there are a couple of functions we need to run. The first thing is instead of getting the ID and creating the event, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a directly event here called onClick. And I'm going to click here a login function. Okay. So this login function will be a call a function here called login. And then this will click it. So whenever this will click it, then what we need to do is we need to get the model, and this will become a model. Let me get from query selector, and what is the model ID? Let me grab this. There's no call model ID. So let me call a model here. So whenever we get this, then we get a model, right? And we're gonna add a class here called model style visibility, and we're gonna make as a visible visible. Okay, so whenever you click a login, we'll see a visible. But yeah, let me do this first. So if I click it login, then we will see it. Okay, and whenever you save it, then it disappear. So this should be a save, not this should be a send, of course. The model has a save here. So now I'll create another functions on the save here. Save. So basically the save is going to be whenever it's saved, then we need to grab the value. I can use this as a form submit, but for now, just directly get from the ID. Okay, this is going to be this is going to be name, right? So get from the name. So whenever it's saved, then get from the name. This is become a name, and we will add a local storage set item. I will set the item in local so called name, and this is going to be a name. This is not going to be a name. Basically, when you do a value, then this is going to be a name. Now is a name. So whenever I save it, then it's going to save in local value. But whenever it's loading at first time, then we need to create another here called init uh, initializer. Init this whenever it's loaded at first time. So I'll just tell that okay, we just need to load this at first time. So whenever this is loaded the first time, the first thing is to get the item from the local storage if it exists, and we need to set it. Get the local storage from the item name, and we need to set it on this name. So I'll use directly the value and name. So now what happened? Also what happened if I refresh, if I log in, if I say test, save, now it doesn't disappear. So if I refresh now, if I log in, it will test will be saved in a local storage. If I check my local storage here, is a test here. If I do test to whatever save, it will change it. And if I refresh, if I log in, it will bring back. But whenever I click a save, it doesn't disappear. This guy. So I need to make this guy disappear as well. I can make this as a global script here easily, so no need to do this. Declare again and again. Visibility hidden. Let me try now. So if I refresh, login, save. Yep, it worked. So now it is a save in a local storage, and that's it. Now the next is to send. Okay, so whenever we click on send, then it's going to send the message. So let me grab the send. So let me create here call event on click again and send. Okay, this is a function called send. Save login is done. So here what we do is we just send it. So whenever we send it, we need to grab the value from the input type called message. I just do input type here ID called message. So this is a model what we got. So we're gonna create another call here called get the ID from message. So this is going to be a dollar sign. I'll just do a message here and I'll just do a value here. So we'll get directly the value of message. All right. So what we do now when we get a message, when we send it, so now we know what to send it. So this is going to be our message here to send it later on. Okay. So it's going to print, I believe. So when I do send, let me refresh this. Send. Okay, it's now going to print somehow. The reason why is whenever do a query selector dot value. It's a message. It's a ID. Yes, it is a ID, and we just send as a value. It should get this value. Yeah, it should get it. Let me think about it. Oh, maybe it will not get it. Okay, we need to put this inside it, I believe, because whenever the form will load at first time, it doesn't change the value. So now it will change it. Okay, so now it does change it, and now we know what to send it, which is here, which is good. So now whenever we send it, we will send it, and socket will trigger it. Socket will give the data back, and we need to print it here as well. So now first now what we're gonna do is whenever we send it, we're gonna add it here, and later on we're gonna use it as a socket. But before we also do a validation here. If there is no login, then we will not able to send it. Let's do that validation as well. So whenever we click it, we just need to make sure that our this guy, because whenever it's loading at the first time, then we will set the value here, right? So whenever we send it, we just try to get this value. Basically, this is going to be name, and we're just going to check if name has something inside it, or if name does not have it, then we're going to return it, and we're going to say alert enter name. Okay, we just tell them, okay, you need to enter the name, otherwise you cannot able to send the message. So let's test this part. Oops, let's test this part. Currently I do have a name here, so I'll just delete this from here. So now I don't have a name. If I click login, I don't have a name. So I'll just type it here and send it. Now it will not allow me to send it because I need to enter my name. So I just enter the test, whatever the thing name. Now send it. Now yep, it doesn't give me an error. It just send it. Okay. So now let me quickly add here. Whenever we send it, we need to add here as well. So whenever we send it, now we send the message here, and we also know that what is the name, which is name is here and message is here. So now we need to modify the DOM. Okay. So modify the DOM, we're gonna do here. Let me go directly on the top here, and now we need to do this. We need to create this element. So function create li. It's a li. It's going to be a list item. Create a list item. Uh, so let me create as a constant here. Okay. Constant list item. Okay, let me create a constant list item here. So for that one, we need li. Li we're gonna create using a document dot create element li, and li also has a class list name, a class here. So let me quickly grab the class of li. What it has a chart list, this guy. Okay. So next is we have a span here, two span. The one is for name and another is for the message. So let me create that span as well. So another one we'll create here, create span item, and we're gonna use a same one, and we're gonna pass here the class name because there could be a two span, so we dynamically pass the class name, and we're gonna create a span. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is on this li, we're gonna do a inner HTML, and okay, the first thing what we need to do is we need to grab these li, a ul, because we are adding in ul. So here the chart list. So we're gonna grab this whenever it's sent. Now we're gonna append list item. Okay, but we need to get the query selector, and we need to grab this chart list. Okay, now we know the chart list of this element. This is going to be my element. So on this element, we're gonna child, append child. But in append child, we're gonna create this list item. We're gonna call this function to create a list item. So it will create a list item. It will create the li. It will add this, and inside this li. So now we will also have the inner HTML. And in inner HTML, what we do is we create a span. Okay, we create a span. And instead of this, what we're going to do is we're going to plus, because we're going to add it whatever it is, and we're going to do it two times. The one time we're going to add it the span for the name, and another is for the message name, and another is for the message. Okay, so here on span, what we need to do, this is going to be not li span, and we need to return this span. Basically, we're just creating the element here, nothing much. So here what we do is we'll just return li. So hopefully this will create me the align span. Of course, there is no any text here on this span. So if I do here span dot inner HTML, then I need to provide here the name and message, and this is going to be a value, basically the name and message, which is going to be created by send it by here. The first one is going to be the name. This is going to be a name, and this is going to be a message. Okay, so whenever we click it, we just get this, and we will run this. Let me see it with if it has error or not. So if I refresh it here, if I test it here, send it. Okay, it does have an error now. We see our HTML span element. So if I check it here, this is the one. So here it's fine, almost okay. But instead of this running in span, it gave me the span object element. So basically, here is the what we have issue here. Okay, so instead of this doing the inner HTML plus, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna append child. So let's change this to append child, and we need to call, of course, this. So now let's try again. Yep, it is working. So now we see a name and message, and that is printing from the span, which is here, right here. And here, what we can do is we can put a hyphen here. So what happened now, if I send it, then hyphen and send will be sent. Yeah, the other thing what we can do is we need to add the HR. So we will add the HR on the child list on here, HR. So basically for HR, what we need to do is we need to also create document and create element. Okay, element, and we're gonna create an element called HR. So once I save it and let here, if I do a test, so now we will see the HR as well. Okay, so so far this is how it looks like, but the thing is it doesn't go to the scroll all the way down, and we want to make sure that this scroll will go all the way down whenever the new chart list will come. And to do that, what we need to do is on this my UL, what we need to do is we can do here at scroll, and there is a scroll by, and we'll do 0 and 100. So whenever we click it, whenever we get the message, it's go all the way scroll down. So if I do here, so if I test it, it doesn't go down. So now let me, oh, I need to refresh it. So now it will go down all the way if I refresh it. So as you can see, my scroll is all the way down. Okay, so far so good. So So my name has been registered, everything is fine. So now let me add the socket on this my UI. Okay. To add a socket on UI, the first thing is let me put the script for the socket for the client side. So to do that, what we need to do is we will use the socket here, and basically we can get it using this one socket.io. Yes, socket get.io.js. So by using this, we will able to get it in a client side. So we will able to use it. Okay. After I register a socket on a client, let me go here and let me put this socket in a global here. So the what happened is in socket is basically whenever we send a message from client side to server or server to client, we will use a emit to send the message. But whenever we want to listen a message, then we will use a on function to listen it. So when we send it is basically we are sending it right here, right? And we are adding this child, this everything is doing right here. And we already know what to send it here. Then we're gonna send this socket here. So we're gonna create another function here called constant send. Uh, Basically we are sending to sends socket server. We are sending to the server side, okay? And it will broadcast to everybody. So on send socket, basically we have a socket and we'll use a emit. So using the emit function, we could able to set it. And in the emit now we can provide any of key name here. So we're gonna call this as a broadcast message. So we're gonna broadcast to everybody. So here now we can provide a message, but we will send as a JSON because we have a name to send it and we have a message to send it as well. So the name is going to be this and the message is going to be JSON message. So this is what we're gonna send it. So whenever it's sending it here, then we're gonna send this. Okay. So here, here is the we need to send it because we already know the name and we already know the message. Okay, so once we send this, now at the time of listening, what we need to do is we need to listen it. So we need to handle it. So this is going to be a register handler. So we will register handle the socket server. Okay. So to register handle, we need to use our on function. So on socket, what we're gonna do is we're gonna use on, and we're gonna create here the event called handler message. So we're gonna handle it here. What to do? Okay. So handle message will give the events here, and here we will get the message. Basically here we'll get the object of the both this name and message. Okay, we'll get a name and message here. So once we get a name and message here, now what we need to do is we need to append it. So instead of using the append here before what we use it right here. So we'll get the object here and we're gonna append it here. So when we append it here, here is a name. What we literally put it, we need to get a name from here and message from here. Name and message, and this name is going to be here. Basically, I'll just use a plus, and message is here. That's it. So on the create list here, what we need to do is we just need to send this name and message handle. So this is the handler part. This is the send part. Okay. This is the send part in a socket. This is a handle part. Basically, this both is going to be. This is going to be the event, and yeah, I'm gonna comment it here. This both is going to be a socket, just to make it easier. And this is basically nothing. Creating a DOM. Create the li element DOM. Okay. And this is the event what we trigger from that. And this is a DOM. This is socket. And this is also event. This is also event. And this is init function. That's it. That's all. And now we need to handle this on server. So we create a broadcast message from here. So server need to know what the broadcast message does. So let me go to the server here in EGS. Oh, not here. What is it? Here in server. So server here we got a connection for socket ID. To make it life easier, let me create you guys a service which will make your life little easier. So let me go to the new folder here called services. and let me create a file here called chat service dot not ts, it should be a js. Okay, so now let me create here called chat service. In the chat service we will get a socket and IO, and we will get this socket and IO from the index.js. Okay, so in a socket what we have, we maybe say we have a broadcast function here. Okay, so we'll get a socket here. So in a socket basically on, so we'll use a on function, so basically it will listen it now. So it will listen it if I go to my EJS, so it will broadcast message, but we need to listen it here. So we listen a broadcast message, right? And when we listen a broadcast message, then we know that what is the object is going to be. Basically this is going to be a name and message. That's what we send it. Now once we get this, now we need to broadcast to everybody. So to do that we use a IO, and we use a local.emit, and now it will broadcast. So when it's broadcast to everybody, then the front end will using a handle messenger. So we'll emit on handle message, and we'll just tell them, okay, use this. And this is called the broadcast here, right? That's what I give a name. So I'll just return this broadcast. So I'll tell them later index.js to use this. Okay, so this is ready, the chat service. So now we will go index.js, and we need to register it. But before I register, I forgot one thing here. I need to do a module that export. And we need to export this chat service here. Okay, now it's a time to use it here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna do a chat service. So once I do a chat service, the Visual Studio will already put it here, where to get it from, require. So in a chat service, now what we need to do is we need to provide the socket, which is coming from here, whatever the socket is, and IO. And this is called the broadcast what I have created, right? And that's it, and everything is set up. So now it's a time to test it. So now if I do test here and send, if I refresh, if I do click and send, nothing happened. So now let's debug it. So basically it doesn't work. The reason why is when we create a register handler on the client side, it's not been called. It just create a function. So on init we need to call, okay, use the register handler constant. Okay, so now when I use it, so if I test it, yep, it sent it, but it sent it as undefined. So to get rid of this undefined, let me see if I was able to get this. Yep, whenever is register handler shouldn't get a message here called name and message. Here it will get it. Here it will get it as a name and message. So now if I do here test, yep, the tester is here. Let me verify this quickly on the incognito mode as well. And if I do test this whatever, then yep, we will see it here. Of course, the same message will see up at the first. The reason why is I haven't removed the same message from my li here. So yeah, I can hide it or comment it out. So now same message will be removed, and this will be removed as well. If I do test, yep, we will see our test message here. If I do something here, we will see here. If I do send it here, it will tell me to enter my name because I haven't entered my name. So I'll enter my name, and now I could able to send it, right, easily, and I could able to see it here, the 12 send it. And whenever I send it, now it will also go all the way down. The first thing which will coming down because we use a scroll by 0 to 100. So that's what we will see on the bottom. Okay guys, that's all for this video. I'm gonna put this all the code in a GitHub so you can download it easily. If you guys have any question, please let me know. Like and subscribe my channel, and thank you very much for watching guys. Bye for now.